Welcome back to Can I Vibe with y'all, where the vibes are always immaculate. Every time we hop in here,
every time
we extra excited today. You know we gotta say it. You gotta say it. Real quick, if it's your first time watching, it's your boy Kaz. Follow the IG CAZ_0. I'll pass it over to you.
And again, you already know it's your boy Chris. You can follow me on IG at Mathis023.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's been a while since I did this drum roll real quick.
Got a special guest today.
Special guest in the building. We got a Grammy award-winning producer, one half of the famous R&B group Division. Fantastic music.
Major.
Producer for many of your favorite artists, Drake, Travis Scott, Mariah Carey. The list goes on.
Thank you. What's up? I'm 1985. I appreciate that intro. I feel like I can't even. There's not much for me to say after that.
All right, cut the episode. We're done. No, but like I said, off camera, it's a pleasure to have you here. Yeah. We are big fans of music ourselves. When I checked out the music you produce, man, I was blown away. Because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the songs you produce, I didn't know that they were made by you beforehand. So
that's what everybody tells me. Like nobody knows the stuff I've done. So I feel like that's the gift and the curse of being like the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, the behind the scenes part of the process.
Okay.
Like you can be so influential and still nobody knows like the name or the face behind it.
Right.
So like myself, you can have years of hits and people are like, yeah, I never heard of that. I never heard of you. And then you would list the songs and they're like, oh, I know all of those songs.
Right.
You know? So it's like there's still this huge disconnect. And especially like me, I'm a horrible self-promoter. I'm the worst.
At least you admit it.
I don't like talking about myself. I'll talk about my boy. I'll talk about whatever somebody else got going on. Really? But when it comes to me, I'm like,
So are we putting too much pressure on you right now?
No. Like in this setting, this is cool. Mm-hmm. You know, this is what it's for. But like social media thrives on people that are really out here. Like, look at me, look at what I did.
You gotta be the center of attention.
You know what I'm saying? Like I know myself. You know, I think you just got to know who you are and like what works or what doesn't work for you. Mm-hmm. So I've been aware of that and trying to change it in different ways. But even still, I'm like, I'm going to post more. I'm going to do this. I don't do it.
Yo, speaking of your post, your Instagram is comedy. When you do the slideshows, go check that. I don't think you checked it out yet.
Oh, yeah, you sent me one.
Yeah, I'll be cracking it up. I don't know where you find those videos, but
all over the place. I just, the algorithm. Once you start to tap into like silliness, it just keeps feeding it to you.
I need to do that.
But it's like anything. If you start looking at cars, all of a sudden cars are showing up. You start looking at girls, it's all girls. So now that I've been looking at some of these like more
crazy
ridiculous memes, they just pop up. I'm like, I'll say that. Hold it for later.
Back to your what you said before. Being a producer, do you prefer to not be the center of attention?
Yes and no. For the sake of the music, I don't want to be the center of attention. For the sake of my career, I feel like there's definitely ways that being more of the forefront would help propel me into like different spaces.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'll help you be more recognized.
Yeah, for sure. So now I'm like, I'm kind of like, I'm fighting my own progression in ways because I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then afterwards, I'm like, damn, I wish I had that opportunity. So I think I'm at a place where I'm just like, okay, if you're going to be in the business and you're going to be a part of social media, you might as well use it to your advantage and take the time to really like feed into it on some level, or like whatever works for me. Not to say that what works for somebody else is going to be my method, but I think there is some strength in really just like owning what you do. Do
you think because of social media, like you have to have more of a presence on there? Like, for example, people listen to a song, but like you said before, they don't necessarily know it's you until, maybe they look at your Instagram or whatever it is. And like, oh, okay, now they put a name or a face of the name.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think we're so used to just like scrolling through things that you don't really take the time to digest what's being presented. Like I'll post that I produced a record and I might post it multiple times. The fifth time, people are like, oh shit, I didn't know you did that.
I've been here the whole time.
Damn, it's the fifth time for me to post it.
But that's the thing, because people, you're just scrolling. You see things, you keep it moving. Well, you don't even know who posted that song. You just know like, oh, it's the cover art. Like, they posted an album. Whatever, keep it going. Yeah. You didn't stop and read and like, oh, you produced track 13 and 14 on.
No one's taking the time to look at that.
Yeah,
nobody reads. See, I like knowing who the producer is because I'm big on, the style of the music, how the music sounds, and then the lyrics. So
they put their name.
I'm a little opposite with that, but
they put their name in like small print, like behind
small.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of what it would be like if you were the artist, like on the other end?
Yeah.
How do you think that life would be for you?
Again, because I like to be low key, I think it would be a very conflicted space to live in. I love to be able to like move around at my own pace, and like I've spent a lot of time with Drake and been around when we're just trying to have a simple conversation over lunch. TMZ's outside, like random people are standing up waiting for autograph. It's just like it's a lot, and I think that's the part of fame and success that not everybody fully understands, like how taxing that can be on your whole life and lifestyle. There's no, especially with social media, there's no boundaries. Like you can set a boundary. That doesn't mean they respect it. Because they know you and they feel like they have access to you and they feel like they're, like we take a precedence over whatever you had going on because we're your fans.
Trying to eat lunch.
Yeah, like, well, you're eating lunch, but I might never see Drake again. So why would I not try to get my autograph or my picture or whatever it is? I don't think I would embrace that as well as like certain stars, because I would just be like, all right, cool. I'm gonna fall all the way back. You'll just never see me. You know what I mean? Like, because that's just my personality. Like, I don't need to be seen. I don't need that energy. But you do need to feed into that to be an artist. To be a thriving artist in today's society. There's very few people. There's the Frank Oceans and there's a couple
like
people,
the low key people.
Yeah, that have kind of like dictated how and when they want to be seen, and when
never
they
see Frank Ocean in the news.
When they want to put out music, but that doesn't work for everybody. That probably works for like 1 in 10,000 artists.
Right.
You probably have to set that boundary at the beginning of your career.
Most people, you don't get that chance. You set that boundary and they're just like, yo, you didn't drop enough. We're on to the next.
And them fans be,
they're
where's
quick.
the music? Where's the music? Where's the music?
Yeah, so that's where it's like, it's so weird. Like, how do you balance that? Like, how do you set the boundary? And they're just like, all right, next. Like, we were on you, but you took too long. So
it's crazy how, like, sometimes, you drop an album, probably within like 3 months, they're ready for the next one.
3 months?
I'm sorry, following week.
No, literally.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
You could put out a song today. Tomorrow, some people like, yo, where's that new shit? And you're like,
did you enjoy the first one I just dropped and gave you? Like, did you listen to it?
Yeah.
Damn.
Nah, it's immediate because they're so used to just being fed more and more and more and more. So the appetite is so huge. So no matter what you put out, it never feels like enough. Like there's you can't satisfy that for them because in their mind, everything's at their fingertips.
Do you think it's harder today to create a timeless song? Because people are trying to consume and don't really take the time to appreciate the music.
There's a lot of layers to that.
Did you let it
question.
grow on you? Okay.
Yes and no. I think there's less timeless songs being made.
Okay.
But I also think that's because there's less people that understood what made those songs before timeless. You know what I mean? Like the way we consume music is different. The way the music is being created is different.
That is true.
If you had 2 years to make your album before, that's 24 months.
Yeah, that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of time to go through the motions, scrap some stuff. You might make a whole album, say, nah, let's go on break.
Yeah.
Let's go to Hawaii for a little bit. We'll come back. We'll get it. We'll get it right next time. You can do that. You don't have time to do that now
because of the demand for it.
Exactly.
No matter how big you are.
Kind of no matter how big you are.
Damn.
like, it's working for Rihanna. I don't think it's working for everybody else that does that though.
True.
You know what I mean? Like,
I guess she had the maternity leave and all that.
Yeah, like that. But there's so many other artists that people are just like, yo, bruh, you got a couple of months, so we're on to the next.
Yeah. Because of that nature, yeah.
Yeah, and you're seeing it happen because you're seeing artists that really had that support or really had that wave, and then by the time they come back, people are like, yo, that was old. Like, that was your last album. Like, that energy you thought you had, you ain't got it right now.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's pretty regular now. We're seeing it.
Absolutely.
We're seeing a bunch of artists, and that's why if you look at, like, even Future, for him to be doing this, like, 10 years strong and be just as...
That's incredible.
Is phenomenal.
Like, he coming up on, like, 15
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's phenomenal to think of how many waves he's been through and still is consistent. There's a lot of people that have been hot.
I gotta say this real quick. That's my trap coat. They
you're a
don't,
huge
they don't
fan
like
of
when
him.
I say that. So.
Nah, but there's a lot of people came and went. Like, there's been people that at times you might have been like, oh, they're the hottest right now. They're the hottest in the game. 2 years later,
Gone. Yeah.
What's something that's misunderstood about making music? Because I feel like everyone now feels like they can make music until you actually start doing it, and like you're saying, they kind of fall off.
I think the misunderstanding is the commitment that it takes to really just, like, you got to live it. You know, because you can't, it's really hard to be part-time in this. Like, even when I was coming up, I remember one day it hit me. I'm like, yo, how am I going to compete with Boy Wonder, Dr. Dre, Kanye, whoever, if they do this full-time, I do this a couple hours a week. Like, how I could never be competitive.
Right.
You know, and that was when I was like, oh, you know what? I think I gotta make a switch because I'm already behind these guys. They do this. Let's say they do like a regular job, 40 hours a week. Chances are they do more than that. But let's say they do 40 hours a week, and I'm doing 2, 3.
Yeah, it don't add up.
That the math ain't mathing. You know
So
what I'm
how'd
saying?
you make the transition?
The transition was made for me. I was at a job, and basically my schedule was set up in a certain way. I got a new manager, and the manager was like, oh, you can't have this day off. And I'm like, that's the day I go to pick up my daughter. And they're like, nah, we can't do that. I'm like, yeah, my daughter's like my priority.
Right.
Like, we're not debating that. And she's just like, yeah, well, it is what it is. I was like, all right. Never went back. And in that moment, I was like, all right, cool. I think this is my stepping stone telling you, like, you don't have the other thing. You have no choice but to make this work.
Right.
You have no plan B now. You know, like, there's nothing to fall back on, and you have free time. So you can no longer say, well, I don't have the time to. Definitely not the smartest thing to do. I was broke. I was beyond broke. But in that moment, I was like, all right, cool. If it takes, 40 hours a week like all these other guys are putting in, I got to do 45. I got to do 60. I got to do, I got to get my craft to the point where I feel like I'm at least in the conversation.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I'm going to be the best. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be picked over other people, but I at least have to be confident in myself that if I'm in a studio session, whatever comes my way, I've been like practicing, so I'm like, all right, cool, I got this. Otherwise, you'll get in there and you'll understand, like, oh, I see why they get paid the big bucks.
Okay.
You have those moments where you're like, oh, he's really good. Like, I've been around producers. I'm like, that guy is.
So did you have really like a aha moment where it finally hit you, like, man, like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is what I'm good at. I have somewhat, or if not, perfected my craft to a whole.
I still don't think I perfected my craft, but I think my aha moment was, I was crazy. I was at a bus stop. I just finished coming from the court, paying a parking ticket, standing at the bus stop, and the guy that drives up in front of me is in a convertible, and he's playing my song, Hold On, We're Going Home, blasting it. That's the first time I ever heard my record played, like, somewhere. And I'm like, yo, I'm actually like in the game now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm staying at the bus stop.
That song is fire, by the way.
Thank
I got
you.
it.
But it's like, that was one of those like aha moments. Like, like I see where this can go. Like if I can do that, I can do more. Like there's no limit now. Like before, it always felt like there was a ceiling. Like, oh man, like I can't get higher than that point I've been at. But that moment, I was like, wait a second. This guy is blasting my song because to him, this is the record.
Yeah.
You know, like he feels like, yo, that's the one. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going now. I'm like, you know, my eyes open like, oh, like I get it now.
Did you talk to him? Did you talk to him?
The guy?
Yeah.
No, I was at the bus stop.
I didn't. So meanwhile, he jamming.
Yeah.
No clue.
I'm sitting there just looking at him like, oh, wow, this is crazy.
And this was in Toronto or somewhere else?
Toronto.
Why do you feel like you haven't perfected it? Like, because you're pretty big.
I feel like to perfect something means that you're done.
Okay.
You know, it means
That's
like
true.
you arrived. Like
Okay.
you are.
There's no more work to do.
Yeah. I never want to feel like
But you made it.
I made it for my old goals.
Okay.
You know, I
It's
haven't.
always
you got
new
new
goals.
goals.
So
I haven't
okay.
made it to where I want to go next.
I feel that because I would never want to just stop.
Yeah.
You know, I always want to progress no matter what I'm
Gotta keep
doing.
that hunger.
Especially
Yeah.
as a creative. Like,
Yeah.
with this, for example, like I feel like we can never say you made it in everything, in anything.
Especially with artists, that's where you see it's like the hunger dies.
Yeah.
Because when it does feel like they're perfecting it, or to them, they're like, yo, there's not much left for me to do. So why do it? You know. And
So people like Drake, for example, you know, top of the top. Like, how do you think that motivation? How do you think that fire still comes after all these years, all the success? Like, how do you think he still has motivation, or anyone at that level, for example? How do you think they have that fire to keep going?
I've been around a lot of artists. Drake is just different. His like approach to things, his appreciation for music, his fuel. On top of that, like everybody fuels Drake every day. Like he's seeing the comments. He's like he understands what it is. So in his mind, he's like, oh, okay, y'all don't think I can do it again?
So
Watch.
he knows who he is.
He reads the comments.
You don't even need to read. You'll see it.
It's gonna be plastered
Can
in
you,
your
can you
face.
not see these things?
I mean, when you're doing numbers, I'd be like, I got it like that.
Yeah, but you still see it though.
I mean, it wouldn't faze me.
That doesn't phase him. But you saw the Michael Jordan documentary.
Yeah.
It's that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Took that personally.
yeah. I took that personally.
All right.
You know, it's not to say that Michael didn't think he could do it. He's like, oh, it's funny that y'all think I might not do this again. All right, I took
do it
that
again.
personally. I'm gonna do it again, and again, and again. You know, it's that type of mentality. But on top of that, though, his appreciation for music is just different. You know, because he really, really, really loves and wants to keep exploring music in every way he can.
Yeah.
Do you think you've experienced that?
Which part?
Say for example, comments plastered in your face. Like, do you ever feel like you're him? Do you feel like you've accomplished many more goals than you ever thought you could sought out?
I have, but going back to what I was saying earlier, because I know that there's so much more for me to do, and I see certain opportunities that are not coming my way, I still feel like I'm the underdog. I still feel like, okay, I got to prove myself 100%, because there's so many things I've done that people don't know I've done, so I don't get the benefits that would come with that.
Okay.
So I'm still put in the category as though I haven't done some of these things, so that alone to me is like, all right.
What was your first year in the industry? Your first official year?
I guess like 2013.
Okay.
2012-ish for 2013. Hold On, We're Going Home came out 2013.
So, who are your biggest influencers as a producer?
I'll start with Jimi Hendrix, because that's
see that.
part of the reason that I even got into music. I taught myself how to play guitar because I had convinced myself at a young age I was going to be Jimi Hendrix.
How long did that take
To learn
to
guitar?
teach yourself? Yeah.
Not that long. Like probably within the year I was playing.
Dang.
Yeah.
I'm about to teach myself.
That's a quick learner.
But I think that's one of the reasons where I kind of felt like, oh, I have something in music, because when I started to see other people, even just like friends that had picked up the guitar at the same time as me, they're just like, yo, how are you doing that? And I'm like,
So you just had natural talent.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just
doing it.
Yeah. It's like if you pick up the ball and you just start dribbling, everybody else is like, yo,
Right.
teach me. And you're like, I didn't even teach myself. It's just
Yeah,
here, you know? Like it. So, yeah, back to your original question. Jimi Hendrix, Quincy Jones, Timbaland, Ye. Now I would even say a lot of my friends. Like
Really? Okay.
Boy Wonder, Vinyls, 40, Metro. There's like so many fire producers out right now. It's crazy.
There really is.
I would go on record.
You're
and say,
one of them.
Thank you, but I think there's more fire producers than artists.
We're going to quote that.
Like there might be
Nah,
more
them-
hit makers that are producers than artists,
But they don't get the credit for it.
and some do.
Some do.
I
It's just-
agree with that.
There's more producers that are consistently making hits than artists, I will say.
That does make sense.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Which do you think is harder? To consistently make hits as a producer or an artist?
That's a good question.
I'm actually curious to know, too.
that's a really
Yeah.
good question. Probably an artist, it takes a different type of understanding to deliver a record.
Okay.
You know, it's one thing to write a record. It's another thing to produce a record. A true artist can deliver the record. That's why, like, Rihanna is, like, one of our GOATs, because she can deliver records in ways that other people can't. You know, and going back to Future, there's been a lot of Future derivatives. You know what I'm saying? There's been
What example?
Oh,
there's been a lot of people that sound like almost Futures, but not quite.
Okay.
They're still not doing what Future's doing. You know what I'm saying?
They're not.
They're not doing, like, you know what I mean? And like, Future has a thing about him that even though other people are trying to do his thing, you got to go to the source. You know, and that's why I'm saying I think it's a little bit harder.
Okay.
Like you can mimic a producer's style more than you can mimic an artist's style.
Okay.
And get away with it.
So, you know, for example, you were saying you taught yourself to play guitar. You think as an artist you have to have kind of that God-given talent to be one of those top artists who can deliver in ways other people can't? Or do you think you can, train yourself to get to that point?
I think both. I think you do need a bit of, you can definitely teach yourself. You can definitely do your studies.
Okay.
You know, and if you look at certain artists, Rihanna's a perfect example.
You must be a fan.
No, it's just so easy to it's like so easy to use.
Nah, she is great though.
You know what I
She
mean?
is great.
Beyonce, Bruno Mars. Like Bruno Mars is the perfect example.
I'm actually a big Bruno Mars fan.
Perfect example. He's so studied. He can transform into any style, but it doesn't sound forced. That's the the other thing to like. Talent is one thing,
Yeah.
but you actually have to like study
Right.
the music and study
an
the
art.
Yeah, like study the art form, and then you can take your make your own spin on it.
Okay.
And that's where I think the artists of today, because you can kind of create in your own bubble and service your own fans a little bit more, a lot of them are maybe not diving into that side of things as much.
Have you had any crazy experiences in the industry? All right, obviously, let me ask you, what has your craziest experience been?
Craziest experience?
In the studio, with paparazzi, maybe with another artist. Not gonna throw no shade, but
I'm going to talk about a studio session. I will not name the producer. A studio session while we were working on Nothing Was the Same. There was a producer that was in town working with us. He was from out of town. And I heard he was working in the back room in the studio we're at. So I'm all right, cool. I'm gonna go to the back and say what up. I opened the studio. It was a really big studio too. I opened the studio. I look in. I don't really see anything. I shut the door. I come back out. I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's in there. They're like, no. Trust me, he's in there. I'm like, the lights are off. They're like, he's in there. He's at the back. I'm like, what's going on in there? They're just like, it's up to you. So I'm like, okay. So I go in the back, and behind the piano, behind all of the equipment that was at the front, this guy has candles set up. He's got strippers sitting on top of the piano. He's got like aromatherapy. And I'm like, yo, what is happening back?
He in the dojo.
I'm like, yo, what is
going on right now?
Yeah. But it's like dimly lit. It's only candlelight.
That sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it's like a vibe. Low-key.
So I was just like, oh, okay. And it was like him and like 6 strippers.
Sounds like a good time.
So he working. Was he working still? Or?
Yeah, he was playing to the strippers.
I know you can't say names, but I'm guessing he made some good hits.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave it at that.
That sounds like a vibe for real.
Yeah.
Hey.
What's the biggest piece of advice you would give for anyone aiming to be successful as a producer?
Anyone aiming to be successful, I would say put in your time.
Okay.
I would say the biggest thing to remember is hard work will always beat talent. So even if somebody else is more talented than you, if you outwork them, you're still going to get further than them just relying on their talent. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. They might be good at what they do. They might even be great at what they do. But if you don't give it the time and allow it to grow and keep watering it, just because your plant is a pretty plant, if you just walk away, the plant's going to die. Yeah, it was a very pretty plant, but you didn't put it in the sun. You didn't give it any water. You just left it. Yeah, your plant's dead. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's where a lot of people can't see past the, there's always like this little threshold of trying to make it and then actually like, oh, I'm in there now. And a lot of people stop right before that because it feels like, well, I gave it a run. It didn't really go anywhere. If you put enough time into anything, whether you were good or not, you can get a certain level of success. Just based on the time.
Me personally, I'm experiencing it right now.
Yeah.
I would never think I would get a high profile producer on right now. Really.
Put in your time.
If you asked me 2 years ago, I'd be like, no way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, if you're in the gym, whether you're lifting heavy, lifting not at all, or just you do the treadmill every day, if you do it every single day, you're going to see results.
1% better every day.
You're going to see results.
Put in the work.
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't accustomed to that. And because these fields, almost any self-employment field, it's not as easy to motivate yourself as it is when you think somebody else is telling you you're on the clock.
Yeah.
When somebody else is telling you, yo, you got to clock in 9, you got to clock out 5, you'll show up because you're at risk of losing that.
Right.
When it's just you, most people don't have the determination or even just like the discipline to be like, I have to do this because if I don't, it's not going anywhere.
So how do you keep yourself disciplined?
I think it's because I still don't feel like I'm there yet.
What would determine to say, like, you made it, you're there? I know you would never stop working on your craft, but what would be a moment for you where you could be like, I made it?
Making it for me probably looks like a Pharrell type of career. Pharrell, Lenny Kravitz, where I can do music when I want to do it. I can design hotels. I can design luggage. I can start a restaurant. I can be in a movie. I can do whatever I want, and people still have the same level of interest in my music.
Okay.
Whereas most people, it's like once you go away from it, people are like, nah, it's whatever.
Go back to what we originally liked from you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they're just like, nah, he's off designing hotels.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. But, like you take a Pharrell, you hear that he opens a Good Times hotel down on South Beach, and you're still like, yo, is he dropping more music though?
That's a real fan base.
Yeah.
Built.
Yeah. So that to me is like a level of success that gives you the freedom to do other things, but still I don't think stability is the word, but still the platform to continue in any field with just as much like support.
Do you have aspirations outside of music?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Let's hear them.
Yeah, what are your goals?
Like some of the stuff I'm saying, I want to design places, design houses, hotels, start restaurants. I love food. Honestly, I want to do an international food tour.
Like you going on the tour? Or?
Yeah, just traveling the world and eating great food.
Oh man, we got the same dream.
Yeah,
I'm a foodie.
Just literally, just traveling the world, making like a list and checking off that list.
That's actually on my bucket list.
And all around the world.
Okay, you're Jamaican descent, right?
Yeah,
Right,
well,
so half Jamaican and was that
half Canadian.
Canadian. So you got good taste.
I think so.
I'm telling, like, whenever I travel, that's actually, my biggest goal. Just visit a whole bunch of different countries.
Yeah, and I take myself out to dinner. Just go and eat. Yeah.
Speaking my language.
Yeah, like company is great, but like.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's, in Toronto, this kind of, off topic a little bit, but what's, like, the culture up there as far as food?
Almost a bit of everything. Because besides New York, and maybe even a little bit more than New York, we're so culturally diverse. You have everything. You want Indian food, you want...
That's what I like.
Chinese food, you want Jamaican food, you want Italian food, you want Vietnamese food. Like, whatever you can think of is there. So because of that, that's probably like a huge part of my love for food, because you're exposed to so much that you kind of appreciate it in different ways. Like now that I've been traveling more, I meet so many people that will tell me things like, "Oh, I've never had Indian food before," and I'm like, "How? Like, how is that even?
How's that possible?"
Yeah, but then I start to realize, if you go to a city that doesn't really have Indian population, where are you going to get Indian food from? So different things like that have really, I would say, shaped my view on food and culture and everything like that. And Toronto is very accepting, because even in other places where there's a lot of cultures, they don't necessarily mix and mingle as much as ours do. Like it's kind of like separate, like you'll have...
I feel like that's almost like here.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Because we have a big Caribbean culture.
And it's in one place. And then you have a Haitian culture in one place.
Yeah.
And then you have your Cuban one place.
Yep.
So it's like they all stay in their little world, but those worlds aren't forced to mix. Where in Toronto, you have no choice. You grew up with Filipino friends and Jamaican friends and Greek friends, and you all grew up eating the same food, and you all grew up at each other's houses, and you all grew up listening to reggae, and you all grew up, wow. So like that's why, for instance, that's why people will hear us speak, and somebody who is not Jamaican, people will be like, "Why do you like? What island are you from?" They're like, "Toronto."
That's a huge melting pot.
It's just because everybody sounds like everyone, and all of these influences kind of just like spill over into all of your friend groups and everything you grew up with.
Another side question too, like what's, there's been so many big name artists and producers to come out the city. So can you talk about like the music culture up there?
I would say the same thing I just said.
So it's just that big melted pot of people mixed in. Because
you have so many influences, because you grew up hearing so many different styles. Put it like this. If you're a DJ from out of town and you play in Toronto and it's not going well, at any point in the night you can put on reggae and you'll be fine.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? It's like that's the cheat code, because everybody grew up listening to reggae.
Okay.
Not because everybody's Jamaican. Do you know what I mean? It's like
that's crazy.
It's like you have all of these different influences that affect everybody, not one person, not some people, not certain groups, everybody. So there's like that kind of awareness, even if you don't realize it. Like we all grew up hearing some sort of alternative rock just because. Where in other places of the world, if you're not into alternative rock, you don't hear it. You know what I mean? Like you just don't.
Yeah. Me personally, I've always exposed myself to as much music as possible. So even when we do like our guilty pleasures, like I kind of take pride in knowing songs that a lot of people wouldn't know. You're talking about a reggae club. if you were to go to a reggae club here, you have to go to one specific spot, and you're gonna find one specific group in that spot.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, in Toronto, it sounds like you'll have the whole city partying in one spot.
Because any club you go to that plays anything urban or even top 40 at any point in that night, you can go to a top 40 club. They could have been playing Taylor Swift. They could have been playing whatever. If you put on a reggae record, everybody's going to react.
And they'll do that?
Yeah.
Taylor Swift and reggae in the same party?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, man, that sounds lit.
For sure, because...
That's like two different moves.
Yeah, because everybody knows that's almost like our default turn up. Like if you're in a party and a DJ's kind of like struggling through it, you can be like, yeah, he's going to put some reggae on. You're like, yeah, he's good. Like if he knows what's good, he'll throw on a couple. But
I need to go.
But you're starting to see that now with Afrobeat.
Oh, huge Afrobeats.
You're starting to see that. Like that's becoming the universal, like,
I feel like it still hasn't been fully recognized.
It's not fully, but there's still a couple records. Like I spent a lot of time in Atlanta last year. There's a couple records where you can tell like DJs are using those as like almost like an energy boost.
Yeah, like a pick me up.
You have to dance to it. Like,
because
you can't hear it
it's a
dance.
different tempo than the trap stuff or whatever it is. So you put that on, and another thing in the clubs, if girls react, guys react. You know, and that's
well, we dance to anything when we go out.
But I think that's the problem with current music.
What's that?
So much of the music now in the club isn't for women to dance to.
It's not. Wow. It's not. That's why we go to certain places.
Yeah, so the club culture right now has been like,
yeah. See, my biggest thing if I'm going to a club is, excuse me, what type of music are they playing?
Because that's the whole night.
I can't go out and stand on the wall. You know, they might play some trap, hip hop, whatever. You know,
can't
rap the lyrics, whatever. But I want to dance.
I need the Hispanic music or reggae, all that.
Reggae, Afrobeat
from New York.
Yeah.
Well, I've been down here for long enough where, you know, there is still a lot of culture down here, but it can be very segregated.
For sure.
So if you go to a specific club where you're not really going to get that culture, you can expect that the whole night. Yeah. It's not going to change.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, say you hit a spot in Miami playing Caribbean music, Hispanic music, some hip hop, whatever, you know, you'll get that mix of people dancing.
I feel you.
Yeah. What do you think your life would be like if it wasn't for the music?
Boring? I don't know.
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't a producer?
I'll be trying to create something. My brain can't rest if I'm not like.
So you're a creator.
In a creative mode.
I can tell.
Like if I'm not like thinking of things, design, something like. Friends will come to me like, yo, what do you think I should name my business? You know, just like random stuff. Because my mind is just
going
ideas at all times. Like in my phone right now, I have like, I think I have almost 2,000 notes.
Damn.
Yeah.
Of designs or?
Just whatever. Like whatever.
Whatever comes to your mind.
Yeah, because you never know. I have song lyrics, I have beat ideas, I have samples, I have designs, I have food I need to try, I have recipes, I have houses I like.
You got a recipe on you right now.
Yeah. So it's just like.
Do you ever write songs too?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Or more often, or?
It just depends on like what I'm working on.
Okay. Have you ever thought about singing them?
Like as the artist?
Yeah.
At times
I
have.
Like just for fun?
At times I have, but I don't care.
Not necessarily being the light, but just for yourself. Like just to, you know, say you're in the studio.
Yeah, I've some
and
stuff
you just
before.
want to
I've
test
recorded things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you got like a secret SoundCloud or something.
No. Well, before SoundCloud, I used to record a bunch of things just to like get ideas off.
Okay.
You know.
So can you explain the process of, you know, like making a beat, meeting up with the artist, you know, seeing if it's a match or not? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who don't understand, you know, from a producer's mindset, how that process works.
Like what's the workflow?
There's so many different ways to it. I don't want to say any way is right or wrong, but there's some people that just prefer to make all the beats at home by themselves, get a folder of beats, hit send. You know, they don't have to be in the studio with the artist.
Okay.
They don't need to have the back and forth. It's just like, yo, bro, do what you got to do.
Put it out there.
It's here. You know, like there's other times when you're in the room with the artist and you guys are going back and forth on an idea. The artist might be like, oh, what if you try these drums? Or I need something that's a little bit faster. Or I would love something that sounds like this sample. Or, you know, just kind of like in the moment creating together. There's some times where I'll have a beat and the artist will be like, yo, play me stuff. I might go through 3 records and they're like, yeah, perfect, that one right
and
there.
they just feel it.
Yeah, and they just start writing. Another time, they might be like, nah, that's not it. You play another 10 records. Nah, that's not it. And then they be like, all right, cool. Pull up that one there, but let's change it. I like some of it, but I don't like all of it. So it's like there's never a set thing. And then sometimes you'll be in a room with an artist and like, I got a song. Can you make the beat to this? Or do you have a beat that would fit this? You know, because they might have already had a record, or like, for instance, when I did On the Way for Khalid, he already had the hook because he had written it to another beat, but for whatever reason he didn't want to use that beat. So he's like, yo, I got this hook that I love. If you can just like give me the right beat, he's like, I already know where the song's gonna go. So right there in the studio, we did the beat, and then Black happened to be coming by. Black came by, he wrote his verse, and then we sent it to Ty.
How long was that process of him writing it?
Black?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember him writing it. I think that happened as me and Khalid were going back and forth on the beat.
Damn.
Yeah,
So it's like that.
Yeah, like I don't.
This is my first time hearing, the perspective of.
Yeah, like now that you're saying this,
yeah,
I really don't remember seeing
just popped in
any type of.
He had a good verse on there too.
Yeah, that verse is hard. Yeah,
I need to listen.
He was sitting in the corner.
I like that song.
He was sitting in the corner. Khalid kind of knew what his verse was gonna be like because he already had the idea in his mind. But once I got the beat ready for him, Khalid did his thing, and then pretty much by the time he came out the booth, Black was like, all right, I'm good.
Do you have like a top 3 artists you've worked with?
Top 3?
Mm-hmm. Let's say 3. We'll go with 3.
I will say Mariah Carey.
The song you did with her.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to talk to you about it because I had heard the Porter Robinson song.
Oh, so you know.
Yeah, like I said, I know a lot of different music. I heard that song I think 2015 I heard that song.
Crazy.
And then I heard, because I was, just going through your music, and then I saw Mariah Carey. I was like, let me check that out. Instantly clicked for me. I'll show you later. Somewhere. I know you haven't heard it. So.
Like even that, we did that in the studio together. I didn't know, and I think a lot of people don't know that she writes all her records.
I did not know
Oh,
that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's like a writer.
Okay.
So watching that process, like any record she's ever done, she's either the full writer or she co-writes it with somebody. Wow. So watching that, I was like, yo, she's like really one of the GOATs. Because it's one thing to be in her category of like a superstar artist and have been for so long, but to know her like songwriting catalog, you're a superstar writer too and a superstar producer.
People would even know.
Yeah, and half of those song ideas, she's technically a producer on the song because she's giving people ideas like, yo, I'm sitting there, she's like, I told them what song to sample for this. I said that we want to do this. She's like, I was the one that wanted ODB to be on the record. I'm like, okay. Like,
jeez, shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out to
Mariah. I did not know that. So you got Mariah.
Who else? Mariah, Travis. Travis was
Big fan. Oh, you did Coffee Bean too.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, I know a lot of your songs.
Thank you. Travis was super dope to be in the studio with. His energy is different, and he pays attention to the details. Like he really is like in there. Like he's in every aspect of it. He loves the production of it, and he loves to craft the sound and really take things in a certain direction. So shout out to Travis, and then my number one has got to be my brother, my guy Daniel. Drake.
Oh, Drake. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You got a lot of hits with him too.
Yeah, we got some classics.
Dude, honestly, like I guess I like some of the low key music too. And if we, this is like unofficial too, if we had a segment on this podcast where, if I gave out my favorite songs that you've done, going back to Travis Scott, Coffee Bean was one of my favorite songs of all time. And I just found out it was produced by you.
Crazy.
2 weeks ago. So I was like, man, that's crazy. I listened to the song nonstop. And then you did Get Along Better with Drake, right? Mm-hmm. Drake and Ty Dolla.
Yeah.
One of my favorites as well.
Thank you.
It's not mainstream, but
when you produce, do you have a feeling when you release it, like, or give it to an artist, you're like, this is going to be a hit?
You mean like if I've done the beat before giving it to them?
Yeah. Like whoever gets on this is fire. This is a hit.
Sometimes.
Because the beat, for me, I'm a beats person. Like if it's catchy, I'm gonna like it, no matter who's on it.
Sometimes, not every beat, but there's definitely, like for instance, truffle butter.
Okay.
I knew for sure. I was like, this is gone.
Oh, that's so catchy.
I'm like, this is out of here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care what happens. This is gone.
What about Hotline Bling?
Hotline Bling, I didn't know was going to be as big.
Okay.
I really didn't expect Drake to do what he did on it. I thought he was just going to rap. It would just be another record or whatever. But he blacked out on that.
Crazy on it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of all the memes.
Yeah, he went.
Oh my God. But have you had any specific experiences with women that have influenced your work? You know, for example, an artist, they might have a breakup or...
You've heard Division. All the influences are like...
So how does it influence your work making a beat? You know, because we're used to an artist, you know, pouring their heart out in the song, whatever it may be.
Sometimes it comes from where I see the song going lyrically. So you have like a record like Too Deep, where I had the hook and knew kind of what to do with that, or Body Smile. You know, I have that hook, and then I'm thinking like, how do I produce around this to make the words connect in the same ways they do without music? Because you can ruin something just as much as you can like add to it.
Really? Okay.
So
I know you would say before, like less is more, or just keep things simple.
As much as you can, and I learned that the hard way. I used to put so many things and layers and sounds and stuff. You know, it's just like extra stuff.
Perfect it.
Well, it's just like you just keep throwing paint at the board, but then by the time you look back, you're like, I don't even know what I painted. You know, you're up close and you're just like, oh, I want to use this color, and I have this new brush, and I have this new thing, and let me try this. And by the time you like stand back, it's like it's great, it's colorful, but
It's not.
does it look like anything to anyone? So that's where I start to realize like sometimes you got to step back and really ask yourself if this is for you, like selfishly, or is this for how other people are going to digest it? I would say the influence that women have is understanding what they like and what they react to and what they're listening to and what emotions they are feeling or what evokes certain emotions from them. And then just doing kind of like market research, you know, like when I'm in the club, I'm always
seeing what they're reacting to.
Yeah, analyzing.
I'm always trying to understand, like, oh, like
Just like me.
yeah, like I saw how they reacted when that song came on. Like, what was that?
You know, I never thought about that from a producer's standpoint. If you're in the club, you know, seeing what they reacted to and applying it to your work.
100%. Like that's
So you kind of in there for business a little bit.
always, because I feel like if you don't know, you just don't know. Not to say that you want to be in there and doing exactly what's being done, but you kind of need to know where things are at to understand how you're going to attack that. You got to know like what tempos are DJs playing. Like that's another thing. I got to a certain point where I started to know like if I have a record in a certain tempo, just by the BPM of it, if an artist does remotely the right thing, we're good.
Remotely.
It doesn't have to be fully. Just don't mess it up. We're good. Because of the tempo, it makes it so easy for DJs. And DJs always want their job to be easy because they have to cater to hundreds of people at once. You know, like that's not as easy as somebody would think because this corner of the room might be on a chill vibe. This corner of the room is turning up. They're going crazy. This one girl in front of the DJ is twerking like her life depends on it. You know, so it's like there's so many different things that a DJ is kind of looking for and reacting off of. They're always waiting for that one record. They always like, yo, this is the one that makes my job easy. You know, this is the...
Then they might overplay it a little bit.
Of course. But that's what caters to the crowd. If they know at this tempo, I'm about to tear this club up. They're playing it 5 times a night. Guaranteed. You know what I mean?
Yup.
Because they
Yup.
already know there's any little like drop in energy, they're putting it on. If the club is already turning up, they're putting it on to turn up even more. Like there's a science to it because they understand what it takes to keep the crowd moving. And that's why if you're the producer, even more so than the artist, if you understand what DJs are doing and what they're looking for, you're keeping the like the hard part out of the artist, out of the artist's like process.
So when you're producing music, do you have the DJs in mind? Do you have it in your mind that this can potentially be played in clubs or
For certain records?
Or are you producing more so for the artists?
No, for certain records. Like if you go through, if you want to look at like a bunch of my Drake records, the tempo difference between One Dance, Truffle Butter, Hold On, We're Going Home, For Free.
Oh yeah, that's on there too.
Those are all within like 4 BPM.
Okay.
Like you can literally play them back to back to back to back because of that reason. Because I know at this tempo, I'm making it so easy for DJs to be like, all right, it's go time.
Click.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have one you're most proud of?
Just a record or?
Yeah, just a record in general. I know there's got to be one that's special to you. Like, yeah, we did that.
I feel like I have a bunch of those.
You name a few, or just the first one that comes to mind.
I'll say One Dance.
Okay.
Yeah, we did that.
you did that. That song was hot. It still is.
Yeah.
You think that was inspired by your background or living where you live?
That was inspired by a conversation I had with Drake where he was in, I think he was in Dubai. He was doing some performance over there. And he said the performance was good, but it wasn't necessarily great because there wasn't enough dancing to the music. He's like in their world, if they're not dancing, they're kind of just looking at you. It's not like in the States where we're used to certain tempos. So even when people are dancing, you can tell that they're like vibing with it.
Right.
He's like, for them, they know the records, but because it doesn't physically make them dance, they're just like less of a reaction. He's like, I never want that again. He's like, I need records that if I'm traveling the world, people are gonna have reactions.
And that was an
he's like,
hit.
He's like, I want visible reactions. Like I want to see people really dancing. You know, like that's the immediate like response to, you know, knowing you got one. You can look and people are dancing. You're like, oh, we did it.
That's the one.
When we were working on that record, I had tried it with a different drum pattern on it, and I thought it was good. I'm like, yo, you got to hear this beat. I felt like, yeah, I got one. He walks in the room, listens. He's like staring off in the distance. He's like, the music is cool, sample's cool, drums are wrong. And he just walks out.
That's it. Just walks out.
And you thought that was the one.
Just kind of, well, not like in a rude way or anything, but just like, you know, like he's kind of just like, yo, you got this. You know what to do.
Okay.
You know, I'm like, oh, thanks. No pressure. He's like, yeah, drums aren't right. And he just kind of like goes back to what he's doing. So in my head, I'm like, okay, what can I do to this to make it universally connecting? Yeah. You know, so at that time, reggaeton hadn't necessarily blown up outside of the Latin world. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I'm like, yo, if I can tap into that energy, those drums, it's going to hit a whole other population that is normally excluded from our music. Because if that's what you're into, you're not coming to our music being like, oh, I didn't get, you know, what I'm looking for in a record. Yeah. You just stay in your world, which is what most of us do. Like if you're looking for a certain thing, you're not going to go outside the genre to find it. Mm-hmm. So I did that. And ironically, this is before you even wrote to it. So it's ironic the song became One Dance because it literally was like one song for all of the different cultures to dance to, because then he also puts an Afrobeat artist on it you have the sample and the artist that's featured on it.
Was she the one on it?
No, the Afro Kid's on it.
Oh yeah, that's what.
And then from the UK was Kyla.
Okay, that's
so that's who we sampled, and we ended up putting her on the record. So it's like you now literally have like 4 different corners of the world being united on this one record, but nobody else realizes that, because to them they're just like, oh, this is cool, it's fresh, but it's literally like.
Hey, you got any final thoughts or anything?
This has been good. I feel like it's been a different approach.
Appreciate that.
I like that.
I want to say thank you for coming on.
No,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for real.
Yeah,
I know it's a little different. We actually don't do interviews too much, and you maybe done interviews too much. So
I do so many interviews lately. Like,
yeah, we watched a few, so
Yeah.
we wanted to get more about you without it being like too scripted. You know,
Yeah,
like
thank
more like inside stories, things like that. Absolutely
approach.
Appreciate you.
thank you.
So I mean, usually we drop the IG, but I'm sure they know you by now. So you low key guys, so you can go ahead and drop yours again.
And again, it's your boy Chris. You can follow me on IG at Mathis023.
Yes, sir. And it's your boy Kaz. You can follow the IG CAZ_0. But don't go nowhere.
Nowhere.
I gotta say it every time, you know, because they be thinking they can sneak up out here. You can follow this beautiful podcast, Canivibewithyall podcast, all platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff.
Everywhere.
All right, good stuff.
Appreciate y'all.